Greetings to all and sundry, Chancellor North Wales here. This is my response video to Aaron Newlands Questions 3. Firstly, I'll quickly apologise for sound output. I know some people remark on this. I've just got issues with my sound system set up with this particular webcam. So, on with the questions 3 stroke 12. Aaron's first question was, why do I build Soviet subjects? I think the main reason being is I grew up during the Cold War, and they were the other side. In aircraft magazines, there was a sense almost of the exotic amongst Russian aircraft. When the Iron Wall came down and things opened up and Russian aircraft started appearing at air shows like Farnborough, it was like opening up another world of aviation. So there was that sense. They just harkened back to something that I enjoyed reading up about when I was a youngster, and fascinating subjects. There is another reason. I love aircraft all types, and hold British aviation in incredibly high respect and admiration. However, there's an awful lot of kits of those about, and if I was into that, I'd be buying even more of the damn things. So by focusing in on Russian projects, I find I tend to spend a lot less on kits that I otherwise might do, because quite simply, if it's not got red stars on it, I'm far less likely to buy it. So it helps focus things in. And there may be a period where I decide, right, I'm going to go over to another genre, another area of aviation, and then fair enough. I mean, this year I will be, as I said previously, I will be buying the FX Lightnings and definitely doing a build of one of those as I got hold of them, the new 1/72nd scale ones. The other question was, why helicopters? Yeah, and I suppose I do seem to build a higher than average proportion of rotary wing subjects. The reason there is that an aircraft with a cargo bay door, cockpit opened up, it spoils the lines. But with a helicopter, you can generally speaking see more inside them. You can have more fun with the interiors because you have a large slide opening door, or in the Russian case, a door that opens up, splits horizontally and opens up. They can be more interesting in terms of the interiors. I like them also, and this is a thing that's going to recur as I talk about things, I like them because they're also utilitarian. They're not the exotic zoomies, rather they're working, less glamorous machines for the most part, and that has an appeal of its own. So I think you can do a lot with helicopter kits without having to go too far out of the box, so to speak. So it's fairly easy to develop and improve a helicopter interior without massive reworking of a model, like having to open up engine cowlings, things like that. So that's the first two. The next question, or next two questions, are, if I had to improve one thing, what would it be? And I think top on that list is going to be good old sanding and filling. It's one of those things that, particularly modelling in the light that I model in, I'll get to the painting stage and suddenly the seams will re-emerge. I apply all the usual techniques, but it's something that, I don't know, I personally find particularly tricky, and though I can produce something that doesn't look too bad, there's always something there that I'm not entirely happy with on this sanding and filling side. The next question is, uh, who has had the greatest influence on me in my modelling? I think that's really got to be subdivided. Um, so I think I'll start off with the guys whose videos have tended to be the greatest modelling inspiration to me, as we're within the YouTube environs right now. And for that, it would have to be, well, somebody that's been an inspiration to all of us, basic modelling. Also, Bad Grendels for his very good instructional videos. Really, those two guys with, when I started getting involved with the returning to scale aircraft modelling, considering that I spent an awful lot of time on war games modelling and painting war games miniature on that side, was certainly inspirational, gentlemen. So that's from the YouTube community. What motivates me from the modelling point of view? I grew up making kits. It was something that was more tolerated by my parents rather than anything else. So, unfortunately, I wish I could say, yeah, I did with my dad. I didn't. Modelling for me has always been an activity I've done on my own. It's been my own space, something I did in my bedroom as a kid, and now in my man cave at home up in North Wales. So I'm inspired by innovation, and therefore my inspiration on my modelling must be stemming from those people who inspired me in the history of aviation. And probably there, one name springs to mind. Again, somebody that I read about when I was a youngster, and that would be the German aerodynamicist Alexander Lippisch, and his pioneering work on tailless designs, and it was his work that gave us the ME-163 Comet. I absolutely adored reading about him as a kid, and his interaction with Willy Messerschmitt, and that side of it. And it's people like him that have did a long way to inspire the passion for aviation that drives a lot of my modelling activities. So yes, I wish I could give a name of some great modeller, but ultimately it's going back to people like, I say, Lippisch, Kelly Johnson from the Lockheed Martin Corporation, and people of vision like Werner von Braun. Yes, I know what they said about him, he aimed for the stars, but he sometimes hit London. But he's always been men of vision, men who have looked ahead in the world of aviation and flight. And for me, aren't just a modelling inspiration, but also for me have always represented a professional inspiration as an engineer. The next two questions are dream kit and what machine I'd like to see. So let's start off with my dream kit. I have a major soft spot for tilt rotor aircraft, and I read up on them in various journals, books covering experimental aircraft, and it's an area of aviation I've always had a keen interest in. So consequently, my dream kit would be a new model of the V-22 Osprey, and last week I discovered that it appears Italieri and Hasegawa are releasing a new one in 1/72nd. Let's hope it has a full interior. So yes, a good, highly detailed V-22 Osprey tilt rotor would be my dream kit. Now, on to what machine I'd like to see, and keeping in this dream kit, in the rotary wing and tilt rotor, and if I was to mention this aircraft, I think most people stare blankly. I think a lot of people haven't got a reasonable idea what a V-22 Osprey is. Fortunately, if I mention an Augusta Bell 609, people are going to stare at me a bit blankly, so here it is. It's the world's first commercial tiltrotor, and I saw this thing flying at Farnborough a couple of years ago and was incredibly impressed. It's a project I read Flight International on a regular basis, and it's one of those projects I'm keeping my eyes on. I know it's currently going through flight certification with certain customers like Coast Guards and other civilian operators looking towards this. So, yes, I would say, and this is quoting Colin Denson, I think it was Colin Denson who mentioned about what he'd like to see in his front drive, or parked up there. Might have been, it was on one of the replies. If I wanted to wake up one morning and see something parked in my drive, a BA 609 would be it. Not that I would ever have the coordination to be able to fly anything like that, neither the coordination nor the eyesight, but as long as I sat in a passenger seat, yes, one of those. The next two questions were about anything in the hobby different, done differently, and what role do I believe YouTube has? Well, firstly, the modelling hobby is a very large church indeed. I can understand people feeling occasionally frustrated, annoyed with people who are rivet counters, that kind of thing. But there's a place for them as well. There's a place for the perfectionist in any field. Kit prices, I think, if you hunt around, as Atomic Dog demonstrates with his finds and digging up and the kits he shows, it need not be a hobby that busts a bank. So I won't say cheaper kits, because at the end of the day, the time you will spend on an expensive kit and the amount of modelling pleasure, it actually works out as quite good value for money. So if I'm asked what would I see done differently, so many things are done differently that it would be hard to imagine, hard to identify something else. It is so much a variety. And this is now where this comment overlaps with YouTube. YouTube has opened the door on the modelling culture. Does it make the modelling culture seem larger? Possibly no, but it's a window into so many modelers' desks around the world. And I think what it has done more than anything else is created the sense of a modeller's club. Well, that's what I really feel amongst the community here, amongst the guys that I see. It's like being part of a large international scale modelers club. Not quite down of the same character as the IPMS, that has its own place, but certainly a virtual gathering where, just as any club or society we intend, we see that person through the window of that society, that we know them from the activity. Some people are more open about what goes on in their lives outside their bench. Others just focus on the life in the modelling room. That's fair enough. But YouTube has given us this wonderful meeting space. And I think it benefits the whole hobby. I've certainly learned a huge amount, and there's techniques that I use that I have learned off YouTube. So I don't think it's doing the hobby any harm whatsoever, and I think it's only doing more benefit. And it's great seeing the younger modelers as well. Okay, what they might present may have massive ceiling lines and unpainted canopies, but that's where we start. And those are the lads we really need to encourage. And they will be the guys in 10, 20 years' time winning IPMS gold awards with that encouragement. The next two questions were advice to the struggling to the new modeler or the struggling intermediate modeler. I think we all get periods of modeler's block. So firstly, when we encounter those, I think number one is build something simple, but above all else, build what inspires. Build something that means something to you on some level. If you're a car nut, build a car, model the first car you had. If you're an aviation nut, build something from a film you found particularly inspiring. But build what inspires is what I would say the top list, because then we engage with our subjects. The second question in that little batch was, what do you think of the future modelling is, and what's my place within it? Well, I think modelling is something that's facilitated by the availability of disposable income. And with that, there is what we might classify as the rise of the middle classes. And this is what we're seeing now in China, we're seeing now in South America. In the West, we perceive our standard of living as declining and getting tougher, and to some extent it is. But we trod this path first, and in Britain, as a result of the Industrial Revolution, we had the rise of the middle class, and that is where hobbies emerged from, to some extent, modern hobbies as we understand them. And I think what we will see, and what I hope to see, is Chinese modelers, more modelers from Eastern Europe, many more modelers from Russia, many more modelers from South America, presenting their YouTube videos online. As these new economies burgeon, develop, people realise that there is room now for a hobby in their life. I believe we'll see modelers from Africa and India, or more of them. So I think there is an untapped market out there, and with modern media, it will grow. Like so many things in the West, we laid the foundation, and now the doors will open, but the doors open with economic development and with the rise of the middle class. As for my place in modelling, as I continue to trundle through my 40s, into my 50s, and on, I hope that I'm still churning out 6, 7 kit projects a year, maybe more at times, posting them online and developing as a modeler. If people find inspiration in my work, I'm glad that you do. I'm never going to be a top-notch winner at the IPMS show at Telford. Don't anticipate being that. But I will just be one of the many modelers out there, relaxing, being inspired, and doing something far more interesting than watching the dreadful, puerile crap that passes for modern popular entertainment, especially the output of Simon Bloody Cow. So I intend to be sequestered at my modelling table, building kits, and avoiding Britain's Got Talent at all bloody costs. Right. The next question, and the two final questions, are what attitudes must a modeller possess, and what has been the worst thing to happen to me while modelling? On the attitudes, I think first and foremost, an interest in your subject. I know I'm repeating myself here, but having a genuine interest in what you're building, because without that, it just becomes polystyrene with no soul. So build what you're interested in. Following on from that, patience and a willingness to improve. But first and foremost is a genuine interest in the subject, in the topic that you're building. And what is the worst thing that has happened to me while modelling? Well, I can fairly safely say I have not yet needed a single trip to casualty as a result of a modelling activity. In tabletop wargaming, yes, I've suffered injuries, such as neck strain while rolling dice in a bad posture that required 4 trips to a chiropractor to put correct. Occasionally impaling myself on a miniature, banging my head when retrieving dice that dropped on the floor. Those kinds of things. But I have so far, as yet, and maybe one reason is that I tend to always make sure I'm wearing footwear when I'm modelling. And don't have at least a couple of layers of shirt t-shirts, so if I drop a scalpel blade, it's got at least some layer of something to go through before I impale myself. So even when I'm sat here in the height of summer, I will not be modelling in shorts. And I think that seems to offer a degree of protection. As for fumes, yeah, I've been affected by the fumes from superglue a couple of times, but the wife has not yet come in and found me slumped over the modelling table, be it airbrush in hand or anything else. In terms of actual modelling, like oh my god moments while modelling, possibly when working on my CL415, and the massive amount of seep through I had with the kit wasn't exactly a pleasurable experience. But I can say that I have as yet avoided a trip to the A&E as a result of a modelling related activity. Once again, thank you to Aaron Newlands for choosing me to ask these questions too. I've not worn my hat today, so maybe you guys can see what lies underneath it. That the hat hides a stock of thick grey hair and a worried frown. However, thanks for listening, guys. If you want to ask any more questions, please do so, and I will endeavour to answer them as best I can.